What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the next video in this Elliott Wave series. Now, if you guys have not yet checked out our previous videos, definitely go have a look at them. Go to BlackBull Markets YouTube channel, have a look at the Elliott Wave playlist. We discussed the basics, the very basics, teaching you about Elliott Wave, and moved all the way on to trading it, showing it in the live market, and showing you guys where to look for entries, where to look for stop losses, where to look for take profits. Okay, so before we dive into the little bit of special extra content at the end of this sort of series, well, I want to show you guys a bit of psychology and Elliott Wave so we can really understand how it works. And this is the reason why we trade certain waves and why we don't trade certain waves, and what we can sort of expect, even looking at some fundamentals. So if we see some news events, what can we expect to look for on the charts? All right, so let's have a quick look. We do know now our basic structures, how we work. We've got waves 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. So our general impulse wave, this is the move that is in the direction of the trend. We generally see these moves tend to have a lot of hopefulness, a lot of excitement in them, where we see people really jumping into the market, jumping on board, and that's why we tend to see these generally play out in wave 3. Why we always see wave 3 tends to be the longest wave. If we look at the chart, we see the first thing we generally see is that third wave. All right, so let's break down this sort of 5-wave structure, this nice moving in the direction of the market, and we'll start from waves 1 all the way to the end of wave 5. All right, so first of all, let's have a look at our wave 1. Okay, now wave 1 is the wave we generally see certain kind of structures. We see either our diagonals, right, our ending diagonals, or we see a normal impulse wave. Now, these can either show two different things in the market, right? We've got, obviously, like I said, excitement in the market, people jump on board, and this over here can mean one thing of anticipation, uncertainty, and potential hopefulness as well, right? So let's have a look at wave 1. Generally speaking, we tend to see wave 1 be a little bit more compact, so we sometimes do see this one play out quite often as a wave 1, right? Reason being, because what we look for, when we see a big move to the downside, let's say, for example, we had a big ABC to the downside, we had, let's say we had a wave 5 over here, and then obviously we had that big sort of the other rest of the move down, coming down. We saw wave 5 finishing up there, we saw the big ABC come to the downside, and now we start to look for the new move to the upside, the new trend. So this could have potentially rather been wave 1, let's say, for example, a big wave 1, and obviously we've got wave 2 right over here. So now we start to look for the new sequence, the new series in this, right? We're starting to look for the new series. We're looking for potentially waves 1, and then obviously wave 2, and then wave 3, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5 to finish the next wave, the major wave 3, all right? So we're looking to finish that next move. So what do we look for? What do we see in the market? What do we tend to see in the market happens, right? We generally start to see, now this is where it gets a bit difficult as well, because we could potentially confuse our waves B, or a corrective wave, with wave 1 potentially, because we do know corrective waves tends to be quite messy. We tend to see it either be a flat or something similar, or a triangle, and we tend to see wave 1 also struggle to get to the market. Now, the reason why we see this is because we had all this momentum to the downside. We initially had a big downtrend into the market. We need something to help us build up new momentum to change the direction, because this is going to be a trend changing move that's coming, right? So what we see in the market is we start to see uncertainty. We start to see people wondering whether they're making the right decision, whether buying is the best option, whether we should either sell the position, whether we should get rid of this and dump because the market could potentially come all the way back down. And we see that struggle. We see with this first wave in wave 1, right? So let's break this down, all right? So we see that. Let's quickly draw it back up again, right? We generally see, like I said, in wave 1, we also see this structure, this sort of zigzag, all right? All right, we can see this sort of ending or leading diagonal, contracting diagonal, because what we see here is we see this initial burst of hopefulness, right? We see initial people go, yes, okay, the market's changing, the trend started to change. We see a vision in the first wave 1, we see the momentum pick up in the third wave, we see the push in the fifth wave that tends to start to slow down. Then we see the doubters coming. We see people questioning whether this is a retracement. We see the market push back down. Right, all the way back down, we see market makers coming in, looking to take up potential, take stop losses to push the market further higher. We see it slow down. We start to see a slowing close to support zones, right? we start to see people going, maybe this is the new trend, maybe we're starting, this is a new lower, new higher low. We start to see the panic of people wanting to try get into this move before they miss it. We see the big jolt in the third wave as well, pushing the market further higher. Okay, and then what we see is we see it pull back down. We see people, okay, maybe I am wrong, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. We see a lot of battles going into this first wave, a lot of struggling battles to go into this first wave. And we see, again, we see a bit of doubt from people going, oh, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong. We see, perhaps maybe we see it hit on a support zone somewhere, on a fib retracement. And then again, we start to see the doubtfulness. We start to think people are getting hopeful. Yes, okay, this is the new trend. But it's slowly starting to struggle a bit more. So now we see this sort of curve structure, obviously, in the market. Depletion in the market, depletion or doubtfulness in the market. We have this initial fear, the panic of people. And we tend to see, obviously, that wave 2 being a big retracement. Obviously, like we said, that the biggest retracement of the entire first sort of structure. And then it hits on supports. And we see now, when it starts to turn around, people then get hopeful. That is when wave 3 kicks in. All right. So now let's break down this third wave, which is generally the extended wave, right? So we've had this initial move to the downside now. We've had this move to the downside. We've had our waves 1 finishing as a leading. We had wave 2 coming back down, and then we start to see a turnaround, a corner. You know, we start to see this corner starting to turn around. We see rejection of it, perhaps, like I said, a zone. All right. Now let's break down this third wave. We'll break down this third wave. Okay, so let's break this down into this area. Okay, let's break it down. So what we see in a third wave, we start to see very similar again, because remember, third waves also have the waves 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So we start to see, obviously, we're sitting on a bit of a different situation now, because the third wave, we've got now waves 1 and wave 2. So obviously wave 1 is down here. Oh, sorry, wave 2 is down here, looking to start, right? And this third wave starts off as well. But the difference between this third wave 1 starting and this one is we have a new higher low. So there, right there, is our new higher low. So people are thinking, what do we look for when a trend changes? We look for the first higher low. Regardless of any technical analysis you do, you're looking for that first higher low, because that confirms that the market is not taking out this previous low, and we could potentially be looking for a move to the upside. So we see that happening, right? We see now the third wave's wave 1 also starting to play out. Generally starts to be a normal fifth wave. We see hopefulness in the market. People are going, yes, time to get into this market. This market, you know, we're potentially coming back down. Now, obviously, we see the structure down here. We know people, if they see a breakout, so for example, if we trade a breakout based over here, we see liquidity providers looking to push, or not liquidity providers, but these big firms, you know, hedge funds and big banks trying to push the price back down. Because let's say, so this support sits somewhere roughly around here, right? Or maybe a bit higher. We tend to see a push back down to grab some liquidity for those big players in the market. So stop losses are going to be hunted over here. And again, panic sets in, but we sit on a support now. So now people are getting hopeful. And then we see this big wave. We see a new lower, a new high low, and another new high low. And then the panic and the fear of missing out kicks in, and the hopefulness kicks in. We see it slowly starting, and then as the market starts to breach, we see it stronger and stronger and stronger. And wave 3 is sort of that big money making wave. That's why we try and trade this wave 3. Okay, so we see wave 3 play out. We see it start to get new high lows. We potentially, you know, look at something like a hidden shoulders play out of there as well. And then boom, we see it coming. And over here is where everyone tends to jump on the train a bit late. Right over here, right? They jump on the train a bit late, and as soon as everyone else gets out, we start to panic. We close the positions, and uncertainty kicks in, right? So now that then we finally finish up with that fifth wave, right? The fifth wave of wave 3. Okay, so that's what we're going to sing down. So let's focus on wave 5 of that finished structure. Okay, so let's build up on wave 5 now. So now we've got waves 1, which we know was a leader, contracting diagonal. We've got wave 2 that pushed down. 1, 2. We've got wave 3. Okay, this will probably be wave 3. Okay, we've got, and now we're starting to look at wave 4. So probably wave 3 will look something a bit better, a bit like this. Wave 3. And now we're starting to look at wave 4. So what is wave 4? Wave 4 is anticipation. thinking about what's happening in the market. Are we, is this, you know, should we continue further higher? Because generally speaking, we start to reach some resistance zones in that wave 3. So we start to think, you know, are we going to go further higher? Has the market finished as blast into the new direction? Are we going to see a deep retracement? So there's a lot of uncertainty happening. And generally, if we have a nice sharp correction, right, for wave 2, we tend to see a fairly sideways correction. Let's play out a triangle in this one, for instance. We'll play a triangle out for wave 4. Okay, so let's have a look at a triangle in here. So we've got wave 3 coming up, and we've got our triangle playing out. So we know our triangle labeling is A, B, C, D, and E. Okay. Now a triangle shows anticipation in the market. It doesn't show uncertainty that much. It shows more or less anticipation with a little bit of uncertainty, but no fear or any panic in there. It's mostly just uncertainty and anticipation. That's generally why we see, if we see a triangle, we can actually expect to see potential news. Now we'll generally see triangles form before there's a news event. So let's say, for example, this whole move was on Thursday, and on Friday, we know NFP comes on Friday, so we could potentially see a triangle play out. Let's say on something like Euro USD or USD CAD or perhaps gold, we can see a triangle play out, because what's happening? People are waiting for their NFP announcement, or if there's any news announcement, people are waiting. We don't know, they don't know whether the market's going to go up or down, so we see uncertainty. That's what we see in a triangle. We don't know if it's going to go down, we don't know if it's going to go up, we don't know, you know, we're just trying to figure out what it is, right? We're trying to play it out and wait for that news event. That's why we see also triangles tends to be right before the last push in the market. Now we know with a news event, what generally happens, guys, if you have studied news events or NFP trading, especially on gold, what we see is the market will move, the NFP announcement will come out, will blast, and it'll trace straight back down, and we'll continue on with our regular course of whatever the market did, right? So that gives us a big indication that if we see a triangle, we expect a news event. We can look to see a news event. So even if we expect a news event, if we look on our calendars, for example, we see, okay, well, there's a news event. Let's go see if I can find a triangle in my chart. So if we find a triangle, we know. What can we use? A triangle is obviously that last push, regardless whether it's going to be a wave 5 or a wave C. We see that last push in the triangle, and then we can use those post-thrust measurements to push out, because that news event comes out, panic, fear, and greed, because there's so much uncertainty. People don't want to miss a move now, whether it's going to drop or go up, and we tend to see the market blast in that news direction, for example, and then we see it come back down, obviously. And so that's where the wave 5 comes from. We see the last blast, the last bit of effort, last bit of trades coming in. That's a wave 5. So wave 5 is not really that interesting until we reach the end of it, right? So if when we start to reach the end of wave 5, so let's say this wave 5 was also an ending diagonal, right? So we see that initial blast and hopefulness and an expectation of the news. So we see the news wave really take its toll, really kick out, and now we're starting to see a bit of uncertainty in the market. After that news event, we see it pull back down, and the uncertainty kicks back in. After all the money's been made in the news event, we see movements like this. And now what we're seeing here, we've got wave 5 now, but it's got all its internal little waves. So let me draw that one a bit better. So wave 5 is A, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we're seeing this uncertainty. We see uncertainty in that triangle, and now we see wave 5. What that was that last bit of push. We see that last big blast to the upside with news, and we start to see people closing their positions, or maybe they're deciding maybe we should go back up or go back down. But we're starting to see depletion in the market, right? Depletion in the market. We're seeing that struggle. Now people are going, okay, well, I've got this triangle structure. We see depletion. We see lack of confidence in the market. We could potentially look for a drop down. And this is where wave A generally comes in, because we see it. Once we start to see that depletion in the market, we tend to see people fear, panic, because if we had someone who jumped in late in the market, or anyone who made money in the market now is going to think, I don't want to give my profits back, I'm going to close my positions. And we see sellers pumping into this market, right? We see it pumping into the market, pulling back down, right? And then we can see, perhaps, we see our 5-wave structure, and we start to repeat history. Now, there's our 5-wave structure. We spoke about this wave 3. We're seeing that destructive or fear and panic in the market. We then have our little bit of consolidation to the upside, where people decide, is this a new trend? What's going on? And then we see that final push back down, right? And then this could be perhaps coming close to a support somewhere, right? And then we have the final structure for, we do know we had waves 1 over here, and that always has its internal waves. So now we could potentially be looking at wave 1 over here, wave 2 over here, to continue that first sort of structure and an overall wave 3, right? So that's kind of, and then we just repeat the cycle over and over and over again. So that's kind of what we look for. So a couple of things to look out for in the market, guys, when we want to trade Elliott Wave. What can we look for in the market? Let's say we do have a news event coming out. And I know news events can be very dangerous to trade, so we do need to be a bit careful about that. We obviously can experience slippage in news events because of low liquidity in the market. But what can we expect to see out of news events? If we see, let's say we go to our economic calendar, we look at and see we've got a pretty high impact news event, so let's go sift our charts that relate to that news event, and we go look and see if we can find triangles. And if we can find triangles, we've got a bit of an edge above people because we know what that triangle structure is. Now we know normal technical analysis trades a triangle breakout to the upside or to the downside. But if we have a wave count and we see a news event, we can anticipate potentially what that news event is going to do. Because remember, psychology is just human nature, and we see history repeat itself, which is human nature as well. History repeats itself, psychology will repeat itself. That's exactly why we see repetitive charts over and over and over in the markets. And now we can use that as technical analysts, as Elliott Wave analysts, as Elliottians, we can use that to our advantage. Because if we see a news event and we see a triangle and people are expecting, well, I'm going to take maybe put my sell stop over here or a buy stop over here if it breaks out. But we know we've got wave 3, wave 4, so chances are that news event's going to do what? It's going to blow up, right? We can get that last big move to the upside for wave 5. And we know once that's happened, we can look to use our post-triangle thrust measurements, measure that structure, and put our take profit targets. So we just trade, that's how we trade news events with Elliott Wave. Exactly like that. And we can see waves 1 tend to be sometimes on Mondays, because we know when the market opens, the market's trying to figure out what's going on, what's settling. So if we see Monday market opens, we can look for wave 1s, right? Either wave 1s or corrective waves, because the market is uncertain or it's building anticipation in the market. So let's quickly, we'll chart this out. Now that we know the psychology behind everything, let's play this out. So news events, guys, news, we can potentially look for triangles. Okay, news events for triangles. Let's say Monday's market open. We look market opens or Mondays. We can look for waves 1 or corrective waves. So either wave 1, we can look for wave 2, wave 4, or wave B in the market. So that's how we can structure things out. Now, if we're in the middle of the week, right? If we just want to know what we look for, where we are in a structure. If we see a chart and we see a structure in the market, what do we look for? The first things that are the easiest to see, obviously number 1, which is the easiest to see, is wave 3. If we see a big pump in the market, we can say, okay, well, that's probably wave 3. If we have a structure, now we know, okay, we've generally got a wave 3. Let's break it down from there. If we can maybe see, let's say, for example, a triangle in the market, so we see some of this with a triangle, we can either look to start counting our waves. Do we have a wave 1 down here? If not, this could be not a 1, 2, 3, but rather maybe an A and then a wave B. So we can expect a triangle. If we see this sort of triangle structure, we can expect the market to continue in the direction, especially if we have a news event happening after this. All right. So that's kind of how we use Elliott Wave, the psychology that builds Elliott Wave in the markets, guys. Now, next video, what's going to be coming up, guys? If you want to know, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to give us that like button to let us know you appreciate these videos. If you have any comments or feedback, please let us know down below in the comment section. We'll be happy to see what you guys think. Make sure to stay tuned, and as always, trade safe.